Welcome to another edition of Big Business Blueprint Live Interviews, where we speak with one business leader and understand their personal and startup growth playbook, fundraising lessons, products and services they offer, and how they think about their market expansion, customer acquisition and retention, attracting talent, and building a tight-knit workforce, and so on. I'm Bhuva Shakti, based in New York, and the founder of WalletMax. We are a global community of startups, investors, executives focused on increasing sustainable funding access, especially in climate tech, fintech, deep tech, and AI sectors. If you're a fintech startup, don't miss out the fundraising event from WalletMax. We have startup pitch competitions and investor panel discussions. It's on April 20th as we kick off the New York FinTech Week. The tickets are now live, and you can see the Luma registration link scrolling below in this screen. Now, coming back to what we are doing today. In my Startup Growth Playbook interviews, I typically invite a startup founder, a co-founder, and interview them about their growth lessons. But more importantly, what differentiates them from the crowd? How do they prioritize impact along with profits? We deep dive into their personal, professional, and startup journeys and their mission to uplift. Today, we are speaking with Bobbie, co-founder and CEO of Solvrays. With nearly 2 decades of experience in technology, insurance, and legacy transformation, Bobbie is on a mission to revolutionize legacy processes and eliminate inefficiencies in the insurance industry. She has built a career around breaking down barriers to digital transformation and driving the future of workflow and operations. Bobbie's startup Solvrays is redefining insurance operations with agentic AI workflows. It's cutting up to 70% of manual operations in an industry that's spending more than $300 billion on operations annually. Solvrays blends intelligence and design to drive faster decisions, lower costs, and better experiences. Let me now hand over to Bobbie and invite her to say a few words about her background and career path. Over to you, Bobbie.
Thank you, Bhuva. Thank you for having me on this show, on this episode. From a career standpoint, how I came into, like, typically the question is, how did you land up in insurance? And it was I didn't go to school to work in insurance. In fact, I had a corporate career before I became a founder. So in my corporate career, I worked at companies like PepsiCo. I was part of a division of AIG. I worked at the Center for Creative Leadership. And when I became a mom, like there's my little one right here, that's how it started, right? So as a technologist, what I was faced with is when I became a mom, my maternity benefits was tied to a disability product. And my only digital option was a fax machine.
Wow.
And I could not hack my way into getting the information to the carrier. And that was my foray into building my first company. It was more of a general product, because it wasn't just insurance, HR systems, medical systems. Every system I went to as a mom, I was given a PDF that said, fill it out, send it to us. And that was our journey with Docsmore that led us to a journey in insurance, and now with Solvrays. I would say that when I look at my career, I've always sat at the intersection of operations, technology, and human experience, even when I was at Pepsi. So it's all about how can we build processes, our startup companies, and really work within our customer, like listen to the customer. We're solving customer pain points. We build a lot of empathy, and I think that's how I really, even early in my career, that's what gets me excited, is solving real problems for real issues that teams are facing.
Thanks for sharing, Bobbie. And many may think yours is a non-traditional path, but it's the perfect gateway into startup founding, right? So startup founders are required to solve a customer pain point. And if you are the customer experiencing the pain point, what better way to validate and launch a startup? Like today, everyone is launching a startup. Everyone is an AI startup. But for the sake of it, but solving real problem is what's going to give you sustainability, the long-term growth for a company like Solvrays. I already shared your unique secret sauce and a pivotal moment in your life that I understand is very well suited for entrepreneurship. Is there anything you would like to share?
I would say, when you're in an industry as large as insurance, and when you build that empathy for the people, what I recognized was I saw myself when I was working closely with insurance carriers. What I saw was a staff person that was navigating so many different ways to serve ultimately their customer. Somebody like me, a mom, right, that wanted to get benefits. And that's the realization that has gotten me so focused on we have to solve this problem. We, as an industry, spend so much money on systems, on process redesign, on transformational initiatives, on pilots. Yet 70% of the work, as you mentioned, in my intro, is still stuck in emails, spreadsheets, and handoffs. And those are the stories when we are in the ground listening to people, seeing what they're trying to do, that gets us so it's that fire in the belly. Like, I want to solve this problem because I know they want to do it, and it's not, and the customers would love it. And how can we really create a dent in our industry by doing that?
Yeah, and it's not about solving customer problems also. If more customers are happy with you, you're going to get more customers. That's going to be better for your business bottom line, right? How can we get your product and service to your customer in a much faster and accessible way? And like you said, I don't remember the last time I saw a fax machine also. And trying to solve that for one sector, I believe it's going to be also useful expanding across sectors.
Exactly.
Now, insurtech is something not a lot of people talk about when it comes to impact and mission oriented work, right? Insurance always has this saying where you put money in, you never see the money back for your benefit for a long time. And if that happens, then probably something is wrong with your health, right? That's the traditional understanding of what insurance and insurtech is about. So, within this sector, where have you seen opportunities or challenges in the US or rest of the world specific to market expansion?
Yeah, no, that's it. Insurance to me it's such an important industry because it touches us as people, right? And oftentimes, and we all need it, we all have it, and when we need it at the most is when this industry is getting better, right? I would say. And a lot of what we're seeing is with fragmented systems. From a US perspective, when you look at the global piece and when you look at US is very unique because it has all of these state specific regulations. So it's not just US as an entity. Every state has their own regulations and creates complexities. And that this is why we chose to, launch, continue, to serve the US market, because we could really help from a market like that fragmentation of the state specific compliance. It's the opportunity is massive. We do have pathways to going into Asia, but our focus is like let's help, and let's help the market that needs it the most. That's the most complex because of the way our states are.
Yeah, rightly said. If you can solve some of the complex landscape that's in US, probably you can deploy it anywhere else with a minimal customized product. I think so.
Yeah. It's not
Now,
just one country. We have 50 unique entities, right? That we have to narrow down to, and sometimes it could, depending on some of the processes. It's a lot, right? When you're
yeah,
going into insurance.
yeah, and more importantly, every time there is a change in some political affinity at the state level or federal level, insurance is a big topic that everyone talks about, and they keep changing their priorities, right? So big corporations, insurance companies, private investors. So with this changing landscape, highly political, state versus federal, even within the US, why do you still think that focusing on people improvement, insurtech startups like yourself is important for the long term? And how do you balance profits and return on investment while you focus on people first?
Yeah, I think when you solve real problems, money will come. Has always been my philosophy. You don't chase revenue, you
Mm-hmm.
chase customer delight, uh,
Yeah.
in a way, right? And what what I've learned is where we solve our problems is at the core, is at the foundational level. We're an overlay on top of other systems, right? Because we're not a policy system, we're not an underwriting system, we're not a claim system, right? We sit on top of that. So what our technology really allows carriers to do is really fix their foundation, right? Without ripping and replacing their core. And in this landscape, right, everybody tries to chase the next big shiny object and they forget how critical their core infrastructure is. And that's where, we want to focus. And this is why for us, no matter what the political landscape is, if you don't fix your core, forget about serving your audience. When we look at what an opportunity for our industry to do something in micro, like a lot of talk earlier when I came into the insurance was around micro insurance, especially in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of innovation that we have an unmet gap, right? When you look at LIMRA, right? LIMRA was talking about this 100 million unmet gap with people that are either underinsured or uninsured. And we're just only talking about life insurance. PNC has their own protection gaps too. So there's room for carriers to innovate, but if you don't fix your core, how are you going to innovate? You're going to be stuck with how do you innovate with these systems, right? So for us, we're mission aligned to creating resilience for carriers. We want to make sure that if we can improve how people work, can help make decisions faster, customers will benefit, teams will execute better, and that's the sustainability that's our mindset going in. So ROI will come, and ROI is already here, right? If you do it right. But instead of chasing venture or instead of chasing revenue, we chase customer delight. Execution is key, because the minute you lose a customer, it's just different, right? Your whole trajectory could change.
Yeah, and not a lot of people talk about customer retention as a strategy because it's really important to focus on customer acquisition, retention, keeping them happy, get the word of mouth out, organically building your customer base. These are all looking like more outdated principles, but these are the key to having a
Yeah.
successful startup, right? Just because there is a venture capital firm or an angel investing firm, you don't have to really fundraise if you have generated revenue from your customers, keeping them happy, right? So not necessarily everyone needs to fundraise if you don't have to, right? Now, in this industry, we earlier touched about lightly on the regulations, which is complex, statewide, federal level, changing political landscape. So it's like a three-dimensional challenge in terms of regulation. So within this regulatory landscape, how do you still prioritize privacy, security, accessibility in your product and service decisions? Because those are core inherent capabilities of the product itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're building an AI solution right now, if you're not living and breathing these principles and are just making claims, it's you'll lose credibility like that, right? So
Yeah.
security, how we deploy within our customers' infrastructure so that we're within their firewall. So data doesn't, go into la la land, right? It's going to be difficult for AI solutions unless they're just doing very lightweight AI to have a SaaS solution, right? Because a lot of customers, if you're going to deal with heavy duty personal data and extracting data, you want to make sure it's A, secure, and B, within their, they're going to be, carriers will want that within their environment. So we've designed our whole platform around how do we make it easy to audit, easy to explain what we're doing with AI. And the key is not everything is an AI problem. It's where we're applying AI where it makes sense. And then B, the human in the loop is critical, right? Because it's insurance, it's regulated. You're not going to just have AI agents talk to other AI agents. And we're not in that landscape, right? This is a heavy regulated environment. And that's the mindset that really allows us to innovate with confidence rather than with fear when it comes to security. And plus, like any one of us, we're on our pathway to get SOC 2. We just launched our startup in April of last year. So you can't just get a SOC 2 report like that, right?
Yeah.
If people are giving it to you, you'll have to think twice to say, is it a type 1, which means it's not a type 2? So we are on our way to getting our type 2 in Q2.
Yeah, you brought up two key points. One is you don't have to use AI because you have to use AI, right? So if it's not solving the problem, then maybe you don't need AI. But if you're using it, have humans in the loop. That's really important, especially when you have AI agentic-based solution. There is a lot of controversy in the industry today, like your agentic AI can only perform only to the level where your infrastructure and the underlying software on which you are being built on is going to be relied on, right? So do you have any thoughts about that? Do you have challenges in that domain where your capability is limited by your infrastructure and other providers?
So from our perspective, no. Where we are tackling more so than tech is the mindset and the culture of how we're going to create change. Just like I said, not everything's an AI challenge. Agentic AI is a means of solving a problem, just like Gen AI, just like any tool in the market. And that's how we are approaching our change management philosophy is how do we really, you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's not change management, right? But how do you really bring your team along and letting them envision that future state and where does it make sense to have a human in the loop and where does it make sense to really truly automate, right? And what you will see is when you go through that activity, it becomes less about an agentic AI problem. It becomes more, how are we going to shatter some cultural norms as we're in that journey? And that's just really working with people and looking at, once again, nothing that we're talking about these are foundationals of how you build a company in a B2B environment. It's the same practices, right? A tool can't solve all your problems. A tool is an enabler. You as a founder have to really help guide your customers through a process so that they can really leverage the tool in the most efficient way possible and in the best way possible, right?
Yeah, so last year, everywhere I went, it was generative AI. This year, everywhere I see agentic AI. Like you mentioned, using that as an enabler, not necessarily relying on the technology, but also focusing on the culture and the mindset to really serve the customers is really key for any startup founder. Thanks for sharing that. That's really important for all founders.
Yeah, we get, it's so easy to, when the Gen AI boom was happening and you're in the venture space, right? So anybody a lot of company names came up with their name AI, how many did we see that, right?
Yeah.
And we have to be careful on our side too, because sometimes I'm explaining our value prop, which we are using AI, but I'm saying, here's the problem we're solving. It's not about AI, right?
Yeah.
And I have to catch myself. Sometimes I will overuse some of the jargon too, but oftentimes it's so interesting. Like, AI is just a pathway. It's an enabler. It's a means to solving a problem. It's not, and you don't need AI for everything. It's where it matters, is where we have to apply AI, and this is where I feel like it's our secret sauce, right? Is how we understand the process enough to say, this is an AI challenge. This is not. This is just a pure automation challenge, but blending that is the secret sauce.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At Solvrays, what has been your success? Are you able to share some case studies with us without sharing any confidential data? And I also
Yeah.
want to talk to you about a mistake that you made. How did you navigate? Are there any valuable lessons?
No, I would love. I've made, as a founder, you make tons of mistakes. We have lots of tattoos. We'll be happy to share a few of my tattoos with you. But coming with success, right? In our journey, we're very new to our journey. But what we have found early on is our ability to free up capacity for operations by tackling things like email box review, automatically extracting. We're helping with doc generation. So instead of doing manual letters, we have the ability to. One of our genes is doc generation, so we're able to help generate documents. Where that's those freeing up capacity and reducing the friction and shortening the decision cycles is we are finding really good success, really good early wins. It's interesting how some of the technology vendors are using us as an integration layer to really help quickly expedite and shorten their implementation timeline. What could have taken 8 months could be done within hours, within weeks. You still have to go through a standard your software development lifecycle, right? But it's expediting that. So those are early success. And in terms of mistakes, like I said, it's a couple of things that that we have been trying not to do, right? So building, this is my third company. So the key is taking all the amazing lessons learned from our last ventures and applying it here. And one of them is, we're not going to be a tool that solves everything. We're going to, in the past, it was so much easier for us to say, yeah, we got this, we got this, we got this. And this time around, what I'm learning is it's so much better if we work in a partnership point of view. So I have an amazing partner that does the front end. They're a front end company. That's all they are. They're a deep front end company that, like your portals, your customer experience layer, we become that middle layer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that partnership is so critical, because instead of saying, oh yeah, we can do this, we can build this, because building now is so exciting, but making sure you have the discipline and the rigor to say, I'm going to play in this space and I'm going to excel in this space, is so it will reap, our rewards will be reaped times 10 when we have that mindset. Another mindset, another lesson that we've learned is not overstretching.
Mm-hmm.
And our implementations are hard, and you've got to have a team that has that rigor and that discipline. Oh, I've learned many lessons from implementations in my day, even in corporate, right? What I've taken some of those lessons and applying it here in Solvrays is once again the model of partnership. Let's get the experts to do the implementation. We can become a product company. Do we lose out on some of that revenue? Absolutely. But is it the best thing to do for our customers? Absolutely. And I think those are the things that you learn from the mistakes that you make, and that makes you, much more disciplined founder and focus as we grow and scale.
Yeah, your lessons are valuable to everyone who's listening to this because they don't have to repeat the same thing. You don't have to build everything all by yourself. You don't have to have everything ready before you launch in the market. So those are really valuable lessons that you've shared. Thanks so much, Bobbie.
And, and if I may, I'll share one more on the fundraising side of the house. This is a
Sure.
recent, folks. I treated fundraising as I wouldn't even, I think calling it a side hustle would not be, it was like, okay, I'll take a call here, a call here, I'll do a pitch here, a pitch there. And I think as a founder, you waste a lot of time when you do that. And if you just sprint out your fundraising, it just, my VC, if she's listening to this, she's going to be like so happy that I'm learned that lesson. Like just sprint it out, focus. Once again, it's all about focus. It's about rigor. It's about discipline. And that's not just how you do product development. It's also like as a founder, how you fundraise, there's a lot of things that those principles apply.
I mean, so true, because you don't have to reach thousands of investors, stay focused, and it's a long journey, right? So you can space it out, focus in a short cycle instead of trying to do everything because you have to run your business also on a day to day basis. But you can't be without fundraising. So, really planning that and sprinting it out is a very good decision.
Yeah, don't turn it into a bad side hustle.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's not only specific to InsurTech, any startup can apply these learnings, right? So that's the whole point of talking to founders like yourself, so that people who are coming after us can expedite one or two of their journeys. In addition to some of these decisions, I also wanted to check in to improve your company's velocity. Have you had to decide a financing shift or product cut, a go to market change in the current Solvrays journey in the last year or so?
Yeah, I mean the hardest thing is making sure that we're narrow and uh, we have so much traction with what we're trying to build across not only the insurance vertical but also finance, right? Fintech.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to go and spend time looking and learning banking and some of their problems. And we have been really focused on insurance. We feel like we do have somewhat of a horizontal play, but we're still wanting to make sure that we execute on our beachhead, which is insurance. And that's been I would say that as an innovator, that's hard because it's exciting when people talk about their pain points. It's like, people talk about squirrel moments. Those are my squirrel moments. The pain that I hear, it's like, oh, it's taking me to, I should go serve that too. You gotta have that discipline. You can't solve everything for everyone. You gotta be focused on what you're doing right now. And as you scale, that's when you have that time to experiment because the landscape changes too. So
Yeah, exactly. So if you build something today, it may not be useful tomorrow, something would have changed, but focus on what you can deliver successfully, right? And to make this
exactly.
decision, what's the hardest part? You have to do this to go from pilot success to repeatable scale. You have made the decisions. But what was the hardest part in terms of managing expectations with your team, with your partners, stakeholders?
I have a hard time saying no, but I've had to say no. And that's a skill you have to learn. There's a philosophy book that I love. It's around the courage to be disliked.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to say no and not be the hero, not be the hero in every situation. And I think that's been the hardest part for our team is our team gets so excited. If you've met Sovan, our CTO, like you'd give him a pain point, he'll solve it within a week. Like that's the type of person that he is. But it's we have to that's been the hardest part. Like we have to stay so disciplined, so focused in what we're trying to do. It's all about repeatability is success. Being consistent is success, and that's the mantra that we tell ourselves every day. So that that's hard, right? That's hard for people that like to innovate.
Yeah, saying no is very hard, but it's really in your benefit and the other person's benefit also, right? Because you have to focus on fundraising, business operations, as well as product development. If you don't plan and delegate as needed and boundary setting for your day to day, then it might go out of control. So then you might not have a business to fundraise, or you may not be able to fundraise while a business is trying to grow. So really
Yeah.
great advice. Thanks for sharing, Bobbie.
No, thank
In
you.
terms
Like
of,
that, it's been hard. It's been hard, but if I can do it, semi can do it, anybody can.
yeah, no, definitely. Now, there could be some entrepreneurs listening to this or may look at the recording in future and may think, okay, is entrepreneurship the right thing for me? I don't have the right connections. I don't have the right network. I'm not part of the insiders club. What kind of advice or resources are you able to share for someone who wants to get into it but is kind of hesitant?
I love this question because for me, entrepreneurship is for everyone. And what an amazing time we're in right now, where it's so much easier to innovate, get your product and ideas out there, um, and easy to build networks. The
Mm-hmm.
key is that you don't really need permission from anyone to do what you want to do. What you need is being clear, being consistent when you show up at whether it's a social media forum or a community forum and a community, right? This is why, Bhuva, when you have your events, like to me that's community building. Like if
Yeah.
I hadn't gone to one of your events, we wouldn't have like had this connection and had multiple opportunities, right? Your that opportunity in last year, I've had now so many different opportunities that's come in, but that's because there's a community effect. That community effect just doesn't happen. You have to work, you have to network, and it's built when you contribute, not just when you just show up and it's not going to be given to you. And I think that's important for a lot of founders out there, is just build your network and don't be one of those founders that just wants to take. You have to give as well. It's a balance, right? It's so much so important. We have great community that's being built right now on TikTok, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. Like there are founders out there that look like me, that are innovating like me, and we've got these micro communities that we have a community, Bhuva, you're part of, like on the insurance side.
Yeah.
We've got a chief community. Like you just have to be there. You have to contribute. You have to show up. And then from a corporate perspective, a lot of people that are transitioning right into entrepreneurship, like these are like your experience is gold, right? But now it's how do we translate that so that it becomes investable, right? And now you have to learn the other vocab, startup vocab, VC vocab,
Yeah.
and yeah.
No, I could not agree more. And especially also, thanks so much for supporting many of our events. And I've been part of your community as well. Like you said, it's not about, okay, what can I take from the community? It's about working together. And when there is a need, supporting each other, right? I mean, it's never going to be the day off, but it's a long term relationship that you can really rely on. You don't build your network when you want to launch a startup, you build it way ahead so you can learn and grow. I mean, I couldn't agree more on that. And you touched upon the corporate side of things also, where you have the corporate sector, you have been successful, but then trying to transition into entrepreneurship, it's a really different game, right? Be it a investor facing role or an internal role. Now, how can corporate professionals navigate that? Like you transitioned from corporate as well, right? So, are there any tips or anything else you think you can share for them?
Yeah. I went through that transition over 11 years ago. And I remember that. And I have so many friends that are in corporate that are making that transition. But I'll tell you, what's been really helpful is it goes back to the community. These
Mhm.
are individuals that are active in their startup ecosystem. So when I was in corporate, I got involved. The minute I heard there would be a startup event, I had a daughter that was 6 months old when I launched my first company.
Wow.
So when I say work-life integration, you take your baby with you at some startup events, but the key is you got to be with your people, you got to be with that community, and you got to learn. I see a lot of, for example, I'm part of InsurTech Carolinas. I'm part
Mhm.
of a lot of these different ecosystems. And I see a lot of professionals. What we encourage them is they're staying in corporate, but by being part of these communities where there's intersecting startups and industry professionals, such a great way to get involved because you're learning from each other, and that's how you can ease your way. You get to see a flavor of what startup world looks like, and then you get a flavor of what corporate world looks like if you don't have corporate experience. But I think that for corporates it's just important to take time to activate, go
Mhm.
to these startup network events. And they're so wonderful and so welcoming, and that's how you tippy toe into entrepreneurship. That's how I did it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right way to do it also. So there is no such thing as work-life balance, more like integration. If you can take your kids to work, then you can survive, right? If a community is welcoming, then you
Yeah.
don't have to think about choosing between work and life.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of programs that happen across the communities. Like, for example, in our community, there's Techstars programs
Mhm.
like in 54 hours, build a business. Even
Wow.
if you don't have an idea or you don't want to pitch your idea with them, go participate, go be part of a team. You get like real world idea of going from an idea to a prototype in 54 hours. I've actually taken kids to that just so that they can soak in. I'm like, this is what entrepreneurship is all about. It's not
Yeah.
about the free food and pizzas and stuff, but it's about like you're working together as strangers to build something very cool, and but take advantage of those offerings that are happening in your communities.
Yeah, if you're not ready to jump in full time, take opportunities like this to learn and see whether you like it. You may not like it, but that's also okay. But at least you are making a decision before you transition, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And in your fundraising journey, you've been building communities, meeting communities, networking with the right people, or someone knows someone who can introduce you to folks in the fundraising journey, right? How can a startup that's a little bit early stage access the right people from a fundraising perspective, even though we are part of communities?
And even though Solvrays was my third company, the first thing I did was I looked at an accelerator that was more fundraising focus,
Mm.
just so you brush off those skills, you build that network, right? Um, that is the path that we chose to do, and that was good. That was a good path. I would say take advantage of the pitch opportunities that are happening. There's so many pitch opportunities now. I remembered back in 2016, 2015, I did my first pitch. It was so different. 2015 was when I did my first pitch. It was so different. In fact, I pitched last night it was my local community. And the person that I had chased this guy, and I said, "You're a startup world. I'm building a startup." This is 2015. I was still in corporate. And he's like, "Hey, we do a pitch event, Idea Tap. Come do that." And we did it and it was so bad, but it's okay. The community helps you. The community works with you. And that's how, we pitching and honestly, accelerators have been really helpful. Not all accelerators, but there's several great accelerators that will help you on the fundraising side too.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry about pitching or doing any mistakes, right? It's part of
Make lots
the
of mistakes.
process. Yeah, you learn one more new way of what to do or what not to do, but pitch as much possible. You don't know who your next investor is going to be or who
Yeah.
has connections, right? You may not meet the investor. There could be someone, like I said earlier, knows someone who can help you with the connection.
And I will say, Bhuva, I've been a founder. This is my third company. If I showed you my pitch deck, and for funds, I will send you my first pitch deck. You will literally be like, Bobbie, because you make mistakes. No matter how many times you've done it, you will make mistakes. You'll grow from it. You have to look at pitching and fundraising as it's evergreen. You're learning, you're adapting, and this is what it teaches you, pivot, and
Yeah.
practice your 30-second pitch. I mean, that has taken lots of iterations for me, but it's fun stuff, right? But you can talk to people and see if they get it. Do they not get it? But it's always a continuous learning feedback loop.
Yeah. I mean, great point. Don't be afraid to pivot. Don't take feedback personally, right? So those are like really important things that will save you the trouble from finding out something so long later that you will have to really pay a huge price.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And while we are talking about Solvrays, I also wanted to quickly check. So we spoke about the current trends, the regulations, and the landscape, US, global, everything. I want to check in what are some emerging trends, futuristic trends that you are happy about at the moment, trying to learn more, build more knowledge.
One of the things is how can we make it so easy to do some of this automation work that typically requires a technical team to
Mm-hmm.
be done by business team? Because we see a lot of transition, we even across corporate years, right? Like when I was a developer, then I was a PM, and then I led teams, and I hired business analysts. It's now the jobs are so blending. It's becoming more like you got to understand product, you got to understand engineering, um, some sorts. But if you can make your product speak language of the person you're trying to solve problems for, so much better, right? Like if you can own your own automation, and I'm talking about enterprise wide, right? Not just
Yeah.
using your Copilot to do that, but that's where we're getting excited. Is how can we really do some of these change? Like you can make a change very easy, so it's more customer focused. The other area is with the rise of agentic AI, we are in a world where one agent will talk to another agent that will talk to another agent, and all of these agents are going to be within different partners, right? Partners are building their own AI capabilities. So we're building some guardrailing, right? Like
Yeah.
so it doesn't go rogue. Think
Yeah.
about some of the stories that we've been hearing about Moltbook, right? Those are some of the agents going rogue, right? So if you can in an industry like insurance, you can't go rogue, right? You have to have good governance and guardrails, and that's what we're trying to do is how can one agentic AI talk to another agentic AI across different partners, but have guardrails so that it doesn't go rogue. And then the third piece I would say is continuing to focus on making it so easy for folks to orchestrate, so that replacement. They're thinking replacement in the strategic sense, not as
Mm-hmm.
a business. I got to get it done, or else I'm going to be SOL reaction.
Yeah. No, so true. I mean, a quick question there is governance and guardrails seem very lost concepts that people are not paying attention to sufficiently, especially when it comes to AI agents, right? So how do you keep up with this, still trying to do the right thing compared to your competition, because they may be thinking very differently in trying to scale while you're trying to scale responsibly?
Honestly, the folks that are trying to scale and not think governance, I hate to tell them, like, have fun, because you're gonna be faced with something. It's not going to be fun with whatever you face in the future. You have to think about the future outcomes, right? And I think this is why, if they want to do rogue things, let them do rogue things. We like our governance framework. We like being in the rails. We're compliant. We're compliance driven. We want to make sure we're compliant with the rules and regulations and comfort level. And I think that's, we're not going to scale just to scale, and we're not going to scale just to have a press release to say we did this. It's not the matter of, can we do this? We can do anything now. It's should we? And that's the key question. That's the guardrails, right? Is should we do this? Does this make business sense? Does it make security sense, compliance sense? That's the framework.
Yeah, scaling responsibly may feel a little bit harder today, but it's for the long-term sustainability of your business model,
Yeah.
right?
We're not here to build a flavor of the month, right? This is our second insurtech company. We're here to really solve insurance specific problems, and make it so that we move the needle when it comes to back office operations. We will have to scale responsibly for us. When we're working with the carrier, it has to be at that carrier pace. But I will tell you, we're going to push them to use as much as we can, but it's that balance, right? That we have to do.
Yeah, the balancing the length of the commercialization cycle. It's a delicate balance, obviously depends on your partners, but also governance and guardrails that you need to ensure. Now,
Yeah.
within this landscape, are there any specific KPIs that you prioritize more than others, more than your competition in the industry?
We're all about how can we help reduce the cycle time of work. When work comes into an organization, how can we help reduce that cycle time? With folks that have already started using our solution, now it's about, yes, we're happy with a few of these use cases. Now let's adopt it. Let's look at how we're adopting across your your finance teams, your teams that never get looked with technology, right? So when we look at back office has it's so many layers deep, right? And then I would say, making sure, another KPI that we're looking at, is it's how many of our partners trust us to put our solution in, right? So how do we onboard them? How do they stay? How are they leveraging our capabilities is another KPI internally that we're looking at.
Yeah, like you earlier mentioned, one customer's delight is going to bring another customer without you spending money on marketing or any other brand building, right? So that's really key when we think about it at the core level. And now, in terms of KPIs, we spoke about a few things. You earlier mentioned there are possibilities for a global expansion. Sometimes when you are fundraising, people talk about, do you ever think about exit strategies? Is that good, bad, or is that not the right time? What do you think about founders thinking about exit strategies right when they are launching the startup?
Bhuva, can you repeat that one more time? It broke up a little bit on my side.
Yeah, no issues. So when we talk about global expansion strategies, you earlier mentioned some of the potential, and we spoke about some KPIs, specifically also focused on customers and partners. Now, there are some founders who think
Yeah.
about exit strategies even when they are trying to build a startup, not even launched yet. So, what do you think about that? So, as a founder, do you keep that exit strategy in mind from day one, or is it too early, not too early? Any thoughts there?
I think as a founder, it's always good to have those things in consideration. But but if you're a founder that it depends on the type of founder you are, right? Like if you are a founder that wants to really innovate and do good, this is how I think about it, right? Like I think about it as the partners that I connect with, how will I partner with them, and that helps the industry move forward, right? And I think that's a little bit more focus for me, right? Like I want to partner with folks that can A, get us that scale, and B, potentially if we put our superpowers together and build credibly, this could be great business, from a future exit perspective too. But it's always in that mindset of not not planning for the exit, right? But partnering so that it becomes like a why don't we, right? Type of conversation. But that takes a lot of work, right? That takes a lot of work and diligence to and actually I'm very particular on who we partner, right? We wouldn't just partner with anybody. We've got to partner with companies that are also mission focused, and that makes the decision point of view even better and easier in the future. Because when you have trusted people, that's where it goes back to the partner trust score. When you have trusted partners, customers delight, right? You can test a lot of those pieces because it's not always your exit. It's not always about the it's what will your customers, how will that impact your customers is always the long. When you're customer obsessed, your exit strategies change into how will I make sure my customers are taken care of, because it's not just about me or my team, it's about my people, and my people include the customers we serve. So I look at it from that lens.
Yeah, with the right partner, trusted partner, you can go farther. But it's also really important that you think about exit strategies as a more natural next step instead of obsessing over it, like some
Yeah.
founders I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, just, sometimes we see those pitches too, like, we've already built out our exit strategy, and it's like, ooh, okay, let's get customer validation, or let's get product market fit in, because it's a game of pivots, right? If you're a founder, you know how many times we pivoted, right? So
Yeah, yeah, so true. And I could go on and on, but we are kind of coming up time. I just wanted to check in if there is anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up. How can people get in touch with you, your company?
no, we're very active on LinkedIn. Our website is solvrays.com. We are, our ask is simple. We are looking for very future forward carriers to partner with, that believe how can we streamline operations and create more capacity for their team. And in terms of people that are looking to invest in us, we don't have an open round, but we are always willing to talk to people that believe in missions like ours, founders like us, and happy to take a conversation if it strategically makes sense.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing that, Bobby. I mean, even if it is not the current need, building that relationship and connection, keeping it warm, helping each other is going to go a very long way when you really need something, right? So thanks for sharing that. Thanks so much for taking time and joining us.
Thank you, Bhuva.